So here is a knife I mentioned in the last video. I showed you guys. If you haven't seen the last video, click here somewhere on this tab. Go watch it. It's on how to resurface a whetstone. I think you guys will really like it if you haven't seen it yet. I'm going to get started on this. This is a customer's knife. I'm guessing some kind of hunting, fishing, skinning knife. Something in those lines. It has a bit of flex to it. I love when these old knives like this come in. Check out the patina on this. Clearly some carbon steel. Clearly lots of wear on it. But it's beautiful. The handle's all dried out, so I'll probably give it a little sanding and a bit of boiled linseed oil before it goes back. Just because I like to give customers' knives the best possible care. Make them last. So, what I'm going to do in this video, which I'm not sure if it'll work out well yet, maybe I'll have to clip it, but I'd like to do a full-length uncut sharpening on this knife, and this knife is pretty rough, so it might end up being a long video. Hope you guys stick around, or hope it turns out to not be too long. I'm just going to grab a piece of sandpaper here first. Just give this knife a little cleaning. Try to get right to work. Now, I don't want to remove any of that patina, but I do want to remove any of the rough material on there. Okay. Give that a little wipe. Let's see what we have here. I know we have a pretty rough edge. And we're going to have to use our full toolkit today, I'm guessing. So that's another video you might enjoy of mine if you haven't seen it yet, where I go through all the components of your sharpening toolkit, what you need to cover basically any situation that could be thrown at you. So this knife, I know some of you might be cringing because I'm using a file on a nice old knife like this, and I might not recommend it for everyone actually. I think you should know what you're doing with regarding sharpening maybe before you take a file to a knife. But with some skill, maybe try it on a cheap knife first. With some time and practice, you can get some good work done with a file. Fast too. Just gonna grab a block of wood to help me out here. So yeah, as I was saying, having a file like this can really make your work a lot faster. Okay, man. Especially, I have another knife here belonging to a customer right now that has the toe of the blade chipped completely off. So you would never get that out with a stone. You'd take you hours and hours and hours, but with a good file, you can really remove that quickly. A really bad chip, a big piece, like with the case of this one I have here, with the toe gone. Let me see if I can find it for you. Here we go. It's a fillet knife. It's a toe chipped off, something like that. This is thin enough material that I'd probably file that out with the file like I'm doing here now. But if it was a thicker steel, I would probably use something heavier, like maybe even my little sander. I'm just trying to establish a new edge here, a new edge shape really, by removing as little material as I can. So I'm keeping a close watch on what I'm doing here. sorry for the lack of content lately, guys. Been really busy, but I've got a little break now. I got some time, so you should have some more content coming at you over the next few weeks. So that'll be nice. I miss it because when I'm not putting out videos, a lot of you regulars that watch my videos, of course, you've watched everything, so you're not around. So I'm not really communicating with anybody. I'm not putting out new content. I'm not really getting a lot of comments. Okay, so it looks like we have a decent shape here on the bevel of that knife, just to give you guys a look. See if we can get you focused here. So you can see, there we go, a long, even shape to that blade. Nice clean surface to work with. So what I'll start with now, I have this cheap stone here that has two different sizes. This stone was like $5 at a hardware store. But it is pretty tough and it cuts pretty quickly. So I'll use this right after the rasp to continue creating that edge shape. Let me know in the comment section how everyone's doing. Like I said, I haven't posted a video now in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, so because I've been so busy, I haven't been watching some of your content either. I apologize for that, but I just haven't had the time. I'm too busy on an internship, actually. A teaching internship. For those of you that don't know, I'm on my way to becoming a high school teacher. That's what I've been working on. And I just had a 3-month internship that had me teaching at a local school here, math and sciences, math and biology in particular in this case. Just recheck my work here, make sure I'm going well. So that was very exciting. It's a very great feeling when I got in there, and I enjoyed it so much. I really loved being in the school with those kids, grade 10 to 12 school. It was just a joy to get up every day. So that's a good feeling to know that. So I've still got a little bit of schooling left yet, but it's a good feeling to know that eventually when I get there, I'll enjoy what I do. May not enjoy every aspect of it, of course that's life, but for the most part, I should enjoy it. Shout out to any of my students that may be watching this video. Not likely, but it's possible. So shout out to you guys. A few of them found my channel. So in this case with this knife that had such a bad edge, it's taking a little bit longer, of course, to get to using our nice silicone stone. But if we do a good job with the file, and this stone in particular, we won't need to put a lot of wear on our silicone stone. So I'm getting a little burr there now, so I'm getting to an apex. Getting a little burr on the front portion of the blade. Towards the back it needs a little more work. Don't be afraid to, I don't think I've mentioned in a previous video, but when I started I had this misconception that I always had to work the entire length of the blade. at all times. So I couldn't concentrate on, say, just the tip or just the heel of the knife, but that's not true. If I have a part that's not up to par, like now with the tip, I'll just work on that portion. And it doesn't affect the shape of the knife or the line of the edge. It doesn't, you're not cutting fast enough to do that. Looks like we're coming to a nice edge. We've got a little burr at the toe now, which is good. Need a little bit more work near the heel here. For me, I find the heel, which when I say the heel, I'm talking about the portion back closest to the handle. The heel is always the trickiest portion, for me. Some of you might find the toe getting that sweep a little more challenging, but I find it's the heel. And that's because, well, for one, knives usually have this sweep like this, so it becomes basically a recurve back here. Makes it a little tough. Some blades don't have that portion sharpened though, so it's not a big deal. But then some blades do, so then I might have to take out some of the techniques from sharpening a recurve to just do that portion of the blade. And it's just you're coming back to a stop point. So when you're working at this speed, it's a bit of a challenge to stop right at that portion, to get right back there every time. So I've just switched over to the finer side of this rough stone. I can't even tell you what kind of stone this is because I don't know. It came just it's in a white box with $5 marked on it. I figured, what's the worst that can happen? If it's junk, it doesn't matter. It wasn't a brand name on it or anything like that. Just some kind of generic hardware store sharpening stone. But I'm glad I did buy it because it's really saving on my whetstone. One thing I don't like is that it doesn't hold water that well. I leave it pretty much in soak all the time and it still doesn't hold. I'm looking at my camera screen here now, and it's saying that I only have 5 minutes left on the SD card, so I'm hoping to have this knife finished within that time. If not, as soon as the video cuts out, I won't do another thing. I'll drop the knife right away and change the SD card, just so you don't miss anything. I had a question the other day about how much pressure is okay to use on a knife. Is it okay to use any pressure or the weight of the knife? It is definitely okay to use pressure. Maybe go easy with it when you're just learning, because more pressure equals faster cutting, and if you're just learning and not good with keeping angles, you have a nice little knife. You could throw off the symmetry of your edge pretty quickly with that. So I would maybe start with lighter pressure until you get real comfortable. But with this knife here now, for example, I'm using a lot of pressure, especially on that tough stone that I have there that I don't worry about. I don't use a whole lot of pressure on my nice whetstone, just because I don't want to go gouging it out. Even though we have our techniques now for how to keep the surface fresh, still don't want to wear away at it. I like to make my stuff last as long as possible. Just love the feeling of a synthetic stone like this. You can probably hear it on the screen. It just sounds so silky smooth. Just a whisk. Whisk, whisk. As the knife travels back and forth, and it just feels very nice. The texture is very consistent with these modern synthetic stones like this. You tend to not get any bumps or much variation in grit size, so it's pretty consistent. It makes just for a nice feel on the stone. Now I notice this blade came from its owner with an asymmetrical grind. Very asymmetrical. Almost chisel grind. And I'm not sure if that's intentional or not. So I won't go back to perfectly symmetrical. I will keep it mildly asymmetrical like he had it. Maybe he favors one side over the other, but I won't keep it quite how he had it, just in case. It'll be almost back to symmetrical. It won't make much of a difference anyways. Two minutes left on our SD card. We're not going to finish it. I'm not gonna end you guys off without a shaving edge. What's happening here? It's getting to be a nice looking edge. Let me know how you guys like these full-length sharpening videos, if any of you are even still with me at this point. Hope some of you, my good buddies, my real dedicated fellows, I hope you're staying till the end. Something funny about the camera being on you, it doesn't feel like you're alone. I find it the same way if I'm in the woods for a cook-up. When my camera's on it and I'm talking to you guys, it actually feels kind of like someone's there. It might sound a little weird, but I'm sure some of you can relate. Some of you other YouTubers or video makers. And my camera's flashing for the SD card, so I'm going to turn you off. Back again. I promise I haven't made a single stroke since I laid it down. All I did, I gave my stone a little rinse. Just having another look at the edge here now. I can see a couple places where I'm not quite contacting the edge. My angle is too shallow, so I'm going to steepen my angle a little bit to meet the apex. So it's not always a perfect system. Again, freehand sharpening, as lovely as it is, it takes some skill, and every blade is a little bit of a, I wouldn't say a challenge, because it definitely does get easy after a while, but it takes some care. It's not cut and dried like a sharpening system where you clamp it in and you just file until you get a burr, and that's it. So one single angle. With a whetstone sharpening like this, there's a human error factor that comes in. I mean, the inability to keep a perfect angle all the time. I mean, you do the best you can and it feels like you're pretty well perfect. It doesn't feel like there's any deviation, but of course with all the moving that you're doing, there's bound to be some, right? So it's definitely a lot of fun. And again, not shh. Hashtag Sasha the Pitbull chiming in. She hears someone outside there now. So she's crying and angry at the same time. She makes a good guard dog. She doesn't miss much, whether it's just a bird flying past the window or a leaf blowing. She hears it and sees it, so. Yeah, not to keep preaching whetstones, but they sure are versatile. That carbon steel is some tough stuff. Give another little rinse. I'm wondering if you guys would rather me clip this video short, skip to the end. I guess you guys can skip to the end. Maybe I'll just leave that option up to you. If I'm labeling it full uncut sharpening, then it has to be that. Your sense of touch becomes very, well, for me anyways, I've learned to rely heavily on my sense of touch in sharpening and not as much sight, because, well, for one, it's sometimes difficult to see, or maybe your lighting is not great. Sometimes your eyes are not the best judge. But if you can feel, you can always feel what you're looking for if you get used to that feeling. I'm getting there, definitely getting there. I think I've met a perfect apex all the way along now. So now when I get to this point, when I feel I'm almost there, my sharpening strokes have become a lot tidier, not as much aggressive action, and it'll become more even on each side. I'll be more cautious of what I'm doing on each side. It still might not be perfect. I see some people I hear talk about sharpening are always extremely precise with you know, they go 30 strokes on this side, and then 30 strokes on this side, and 20 strokes on this side. A few strokes difference on each side. These stones don't cut fast enough for that to make a difference. So what I'm going to do now is grab a little piece of wood and use that trick that I spoke of before. I'm just going to draw my knife lightly through that piece of wood just to haul off any burr. You can still feel a little touch there, so I'm going to put a little more pressure. Okay, give my stone a last rinse on that 1000 side and a few strokes into the edge. So you can probably see why, you know, I don't sharpen knives for $2 a piece. It's just not worth your while when knives like this come in. It's just too much work. And if knives are real bad, I do charge, the way I charge is a fee per inch of blade. Okay, so I'll have a rate per inch, and if a knife is real bad, a real bad dent or chip that needs a lot of work, I might go by that fee and add, say, a $2, $3, $4 fee for the extra work. Just add a flat rate because of damage to the knife or something like that. You've got to do something, or else you just wouldn't be even close to being worth your time. So if you're wondering about my sharpening work, by the way, myself and Ray Bartlett have a page, Atlantic Sharpening. We had some business cards come in recently, some real nice business cards. Actually, I know this video is going on long enough already, but let me show you a card here. here we are. Here's our information. Follow us on social at Facebook or Instagram. We're on both. Contact at the email right here. And then if you want to freeze the screen right now and read that, go right ahead. Back to the knife, going over to the 6000 side now. So we're almost done here. I think this video has gone on long enough. So notice I haven't done any kind of sharpness testing yet on the blade to see what the edge is like. So I used to, first when I started out, all during my sharpening, I used to have pieces of paper there, and I'd constantly be cutting paper. Is it sharp enough yet to cut the paper well? Constantly during the sharpening process, just checking my arm. Is it sharp enough to shave hair yet? I don't do that anymore because, first of all, it's a waste of paper. It's a waste of paper, and it's not needed at this point. Learn what a good edge looks and feels like just by touching the edge, and you'll save time from constantly edge testing. Edge testing takes time. You end up with mess to clean up or bald patches all over your arms. Just unnecessary, so get away from that early if you can, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. That edge feels pretty nice. Let me give you a shot of what we have here. There's that polished edge against that patina. Okay. So I'm going to give it a drag through the piece of wood. Give it a feel. So it's feeling pretty good. Have a close look to make sure I am meeting the apex. Okay, a couple more strokes into the edge, just making sure to get to the very tip. Some of these hunters can be pretty picky about their hunting knives. Now I'm guessing I'm already far surpassed any type of edge he normally has on his knife just by the condition of how the knife came in. So I'm going to grab here now my pasted strap. Just giving it a rub with a bit of compound. Going to give it a few straps on a compounded strap here. So this will really bring that polish on that edge. A paste like this will probably bring my 8,000 grit stone, or my 6,000 grit stone that I just finished on the white side. This leather strap with compound here will probably bring the edge up to 8,000+, I would say, for sure. Maybe up closer to 10,000. I do have an 8,000 grit stone here, but that one's kept for my straight razors. One last step for you that know me. I always like to finish on a not compounded strap, or just a piece of fresh leather. Just because, to me, in my experience, it ends off with an even finer edge than what the compounded strap will give. Just refines it a little touch more. Now is the big test. Where's my thumb finger? Focus. There you can see it. See what that edge looks like. That is one sharp edge. I don't want to shave much on my arms because they're finally back to, that should tell you the edge we have there. I'm finally back to full growth on my arms again instead of bald patches everywhere. But let me grab a piece of paper just for you that might want to see. Okay, so that'll do a level of skinning and meat processing that most people have probably never experienced. You won't get an edge like this on a steel rod, I can tell you that. Keep practicing, guys. That is a thing of beauty. Keep practicing your techniques. Hope you like this video. I know it's super long. Hit the like button, please. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Comment down below. We'll see you in the next video.